Okay, hello, can everyone hear me? All right, very good, awesome. Thank you all for being here this evening and welcome to the 2024 State of the City presentation for the City of San Luis Obispo. A quick introduction, my name is Greg Herman. I'm the Deputy City Manager and currently serving as the Interim Assistant City Manager while we go through our City Manager transition here at the City. I just want to mention a few logistical items briefly for everyone. Restrooms are through these main doors and you can access them on the left-hand side immediately as you exit those doors. This event is being streamed live on YouTube, and so we'll be sure to use microphones during the presentation and during questions so that folks online are able to hear us. We are really hoping to have some time for questions at the end, but we'll be sure to stick around for some individual conversations if we run short on time. We have a couple of great presenters tonight. You'll have a chance to meet some of the department head team, and the rest of our department head team is here this evening. I'd like to take a second and acknowledge Vice Mayor Andy Pease, who is here, and then also our Mayor Erica A. Stewart. And I'm happy to hand it over to Erica to start our presentation.
Well, thank you, Greg. Really excited to be here. Excited to have, are you all hearing this echo? Okay, just curious before we keep going. Really excited to be able to report that we are in the state where this city is strong. We get to actually talk about all these wonderful things that we've done through this past year. And we also get to talk about a few things that are challenges. And as many communities, we have dealt with historic flooding. We talk about this a lot because it continues to affect us all, and looking at how do we work with emergency preparedness, tell me to say that twice in a row, and also looking at how do we help continue to foster a sense of belonging and help make SLO more resilient and more sustainable. We've adopted a lot of strategic plans, and I say that because these are the roadmaps to what we do next and how we continue to make our community even better. Before we dive into the details and the data, I wanted to present the city vision. Now it's making no sound at all. Yeah, for sure. We love technology when it works, right? Shall we try again? Okay, so there we go. So before we dive into the details and the data, I wanted to present the city vision. As we look up here, it's the City of San Luis Obispo. Sorry. The City of San Luis Obispo adopts this every 2 years during our financial planning process. This is kind of out of, obviously, how the city works as a whole and our mission and our purpose, but then it's also all of the community members that come together and say, what do we want San Luis Obispo to be? So every 2 years, we look at this, we look at our values, we look at the changes, and we reshape for our financial plan what these values are. And as we look at these core values, we look at these as a foundation to every decision we make. We are a full service city, which you're going to hear about in a minute. And being a full service city is a lot. We're going to go ahead to the next slide. So you can see we do a lot. We are a full service city. That means we have public safety being fire and police. That means we have planning and building in our community development department. The water and sewer, which is our utilities, are in public works departments. We, of course, maintain our streets, no potholes, hopefully eventually. We maintain our SLO city transit and partner, of course, with our county transit. And we have parks and recreation. So all of these services, not every city has this. And as I learned between our 486 cities with being part of Cal Cities, it's really impressive what we do in our city. And I don't mean to toot our own horn, but it really is. So we cover about 13.6 miles, and we have about 47,000 people in our city. That does not include the students that live on Cal Poly, simply because they're outside of the city limits. So just to give you a sense, when I say those 10 different departments, what that means, we manage 23 city parks, 65 miles of hiking trails, over 4,000 acres of open space, nearly 13,000 trees, and 135 miles of paved roads. I think that's to Disneyland and back or something like that. More than 2,800 public parking spaces, yay, parking, our favorite topic. 83 miles of bikeways, which really makes me happy to help people get around to our community safely. 191 miles of water lines, which is more than the miles of roads, 148 miles of sewer lines, and we provide 4,900 acre feet of water. We are solid in our water, and that is something that I am super proud of. I'm also really proud of the progress that we've made in our capital improvement projects. One of the largest projects we've ever had in our history is the city's lovingly known as the WRF, the Water Resource Recovery Facility. And this is, we haven't had to update this for 100 years. So I'm hoping that this $140 million project will last us another 100 years. And we'll get so many more things out of it that I won't go into. But this is a state-of-the-art facility. This is not just a $140 million project, but we have 85% of local workers on this project. That makes me really proud that we were able to keep people here as they're working on this huge project. As you may have heard, there's a slow in motion. That project is all of our paving and all of our roads throughout the town. This makes our community safer to get around, whether you walk or stroll, whether you're driving, whether you're riding a bike, whether you're walking around. We are working on roadways, bike paths, curb ramps, and parks to keep the community safe. Well, we have $116 million more to go on additional capital improvements, and that's on everything you can imagine. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later with either one of our department heads. Oh, good, Matt Horn is here. And also, the City Utilities Department is also responsible for making sure the community's water is transported, treated, distributed, used, collected, and recovered, and beneficially used. That sounds like a very simple thing to people. Just, we get water, we open our tap, and it comes, and it's safe and clean. But if you look at other communities, not in the city, not in the county of SLO, but around the US, that's not always the case. So we also were really excited. We had the National Award for Water Conservation and a $6.6 million grant to clean up contaminated groundwater. Our utilities department continues to clean more water, help us keep more water, and that is something we're being recognized for nationally. So really exciting. And moving on to the next slide. We can do none of this without the people that work for the city. We have almost 500 people that work for the city, and we are so lucky to have these dedicated individuals. Not everyone chooses to go into public service as their way to make a living. And it's not exactly the most lucrative always, but it is so wonderful because the people who work here are dedicated to make this community even better. So as we talk about the people behind the scenes, one of the people here, Nicole Domini, she is our human resources manager, or human resources director, sorry, and they have hired or promoted 125 full-time positions. That's about 30% of our employees. And when you look at you might have heard of the silver tsunami, people retiring a little earlier, especially with COVID that came along. That's a lot of work behind the scenes. And in fact, I think she had about 50% of her own department overturned. So that's really, really exciting work. Our IT, as you got to see them earlier, making sure we are always connected with our community. And that has been through COVID, through technology, all the changes. That's a lot. I'm also really proud. Everyone on our council really cares about childcare and wants to make sure our children and our youth are able to be safe and cared for. And we've had over 500 children each day in the school year, or a little bit over the school year actually, be able to have affordable childcare through the city. Our police department saw a 24% reduction in crime while responding to over 36,000 calls for service. I'm also really proud we have a relatively new program. It's the Community Service Officer Program. They continue to be right downtown, keeping downtown even safer. There are non-sworn officers. We're really proud of them, as well as the Community Action Team and Mobile Crisis Unit. We have really paired our public safety officers and our fire department with social workers and with EMT, so people can actually provide medical care to people who are unhoused right downtown or anywhere in our city. One more slide, and then I'm going to pass it on to our interim city manager, Whitney McDonald. So lastly, I want to talk about our major city goals a little bit more. We talked about the 23-25, the financial plan every 2 years. This used to be the famous dotocracy where we would go over to Ludwig Center and put lots of dots with the whole community and say, yay, we love this. This is what's so important. Well, of course, we too have moved on from dots, and now we have technology and we get to actually do this in person. Again, back to our dedicated staff. Now we do this more of like a community fair where we get to be in person and actually talk to the departments with all the community, choose your technology of what was your highest priority. So from our community, housing and homelessness, economic resilience and fiscal sustainability, diversity, equity, inclusion, climate action, open space, and sustainable transportation. Yeah, that's one because we couldn't give any of those up. And emergency preparedness are our major city goals. So when we focus, where does our money go? What do our decisions come to? This is all with a focus of this being the most important. So those are our major city goals, and I want to go ahead and pass it on to a little bit more depth with our interim city manager, Whitney McDonald. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So happy to be here with you all. Again, my name is Whitney McDonald. I am your interim city manager for the time being. I also was our assistant city manager until filling in this role after Derek Johnson's departure, which I'm incredibly grateful for him bringing me in here. This is such an exciting time and a community to be serving. It's really a great opportunity to highlight a lot of the work that we've done over the past year as the mayor kind of kicked off the conversation. We really have accomplished a lot in our community and also navigated challenges along the way. So one of those challenges we faced is economic turbulence. This included post-COVID recovery efforts, inflation, rising interest rates, slowing market growth, and a shifting labor market. I'm sure things that everybody in this room has experienced personally and in your businesses as well. San Luis Obispo certainly is not alone in addressing these economic issues, but yet in the midst of all of this, we have fared quite well. Although market conditions are outside of the city's control, there are a number of things that we are doing to help prepare our community now and in the future for economic challenges. The city has a robust fiscal tool belt with a number of fiscal and budget policies that help us navigate both in good times and in bad. This tool belt has been in full use with regular budget monitoring and reporting to the City Council and careful spending decisions along the way, essentially every day. After the uncertainties of COVID, we caught up on our fiscal health response goals and have made both required and prepayments to pay down our CalPERS pension obligations. We've invested in new infrastructure as well as maintaining our existing infrastructure and leveraged the city's dollars to seek out grant opportunities. And in the fiscal year 23-24, we were able to secure over $14 million in awards to the city and partnership projects. So that's just grant funding that is being provided to the city and our partners to carry out the work here for you all every day. The city has also built up our reserves in an appropriate manner to address rainy days. And as mentioned earlier, and again, I'm sure everybody remembers well, we've had a number of pretty rainy days over the past couple of years. These reserves really helped us to respond both immediately and robustly, if that's a word, to what we were seeing during the 2023 storms and take a pretty aggressive approach to remedying the damage that we're seeing across the city. To date, we've submitted over $9 million in eligible storm costs to FEMA for reimbursement. The city has also maintained a balanced budget and once again was awarded with the Government Financial Officers Association's Distinguished Budget Award and Award of Excellence in Financial Reporting, with, of course, a lot of that effort and recognition should go to our finance director, Emily Jackson, who happens to be sitting right here as well. We have really an amazing team here supporting all of these efforts. Through all of this, we have been able to go above and beyond to ensure that we are being fiscally responsible while also providing additional services, investments, and projects. And so looking at our budget at a glance, of course, we can't talk about fiscal sustainability without really talking about our budget. So here's a quick look at our 2023-24 budget broken down by the types, really kind of big buckets of funds that we hold our revenue in. By far, the largest fund is our general fund. This is where the majority of the taxes you pay go to provide the services that you all use maybe every day. And that includes our police and fire, street maintenance, parks and recreation programs, community development, and essentially the ideas that you have about everyday government service really largely comes out of this fund. The city's enterprise funds account for services that are operated like a business and are funded by rates charged to those who use those services directly. So this would include our water and sewer rates and fund, along with our transit and parking services fund. And then finally, we have our capital improvement project fund and large source that accounts for a major portion of our city's budget as well. And these capital projects really build, maintain, replace, or rehabilitate our city assets or infrastructure, and that would include roads, bridges, parks, community facilities, all the things that we kind of use every day. And then looking at our local revenue measure funds, one of the city's most critical revenue streams is our local revenue measure, which was a sales tax approved by the voters, you all, in 2020. Without these funds, San Luis Obispo really would be a very different place. To put it into perspective, this revenue covers about a third of what we spend in the general fund and is estimated to provide about $30 million this year. This measure represents a significant investment by our community in our community, and it has enabled the city to not only weather economic uncertainties post-pandemic, but also to invest in new infrastructure and vital services. This money funds critical services like street maintenance and transportation, community safety, youth and senior services and recreation facilities, and open space preservation. And really, we can't thank you all enough for the trust you've put in us in providing this additional funding to the city to provide these services to you all and bring new infrastructure to our community. Another element of fiscal sustainability is keeping our economy strong. Last year, we continued to invest in making San Luis Obispo an attractive place to live, work, and play. We adopted our economic development strategic plan, and this helps guide our strategy in economic development over the next 5 years. We provided business retention and expansion to support to over 75 businesses. We've distributed grant funding for childcare facilities. For the 4th year in a row, the city supported local businesses through our Buy Local and Eat Local bonus programs. These programs helped incentivize shopping and dining and added an estimated $1.2 million to the local economy. Our promotional coordinating committee was able to revise our grant program for community events into a new cultural arts and community promotion grant program. And this supported over 20 local nonprofit organizations and brought events and activities to the community. And of course, we need to also mention the P word, which is mentioning our parking rate study that we completed back in May. This was a comprehensive rate study that included several outreach and workshop opportunities and surveys that received over 2,700 responses. And finally, a report that was presented to the City Council at a special meeting on May 14th. Ultimately, the City Council responded to community feedback and chose a parking rate structure that prioritized the lowest rates for parking downtown while maintaining a fiscally responsible resource and service to the community. This will allow our visitors to spend more on what you love and less on parking downtown, although we know you also love that too. We continue to work on improving our downtown parking experience, including options for people making short trips to the library or attending public meetings, and we will have more to come on that as well. In 2023-24, we also promoted cultural vitality and brought people together with the help of community partners. We focused economic development efforts on placemaking and celebrated culture through community events like Arttober and the Lunar New Year celebration. Hopefully folks were able to make it out to that. It was really a very special event. The Parks and Recreation Department held annual events such as the September Scramble, Boo Bash, Leprechaun Lost, and Spring Fling. And during the summer, the department coordinated 5 Monday meetups at different park locations. Stay tuned, that is coming back this summer as well, very soon. There were Super Rec Saturdays at the Swim Center, supported Jack House special events such as Victorian Christmas tours and the Mother's Day concert. Our public art program continued to thrive through collaborations with local community groups such as the San Luis Obispo Museum of Art, SLO Arts Council, and other local artists. An updated community partnership agreement was established for additional 2 years with SLOMA for art installations throughout downtown and for major capital projects such as new roadway roundabouts. And then on top of our normal project, the city has completed over 200 projects to clean, repair, and replace portions of roads, creeks, drainage facilities, and other pieces of infrastructure damaged in the storms. I'm sure you've heard a few times from us already this evening about storms, and it's really because of the massive effort that it took for us to respond to that disaster. Addressing the erosion along San Luis Drive was one of the most severe and immediate safety repairs needed. After the 2023 storms, it took us almost a year to build a 350-foot concrete retaining wall, that's about 25 feet tall, repave the road and rebuild sidewalks. This project earned the Emergency Repair Project of the Year for 2023, a second place award from the Central Coast Chapter of American Public Works Association. I really hope that maybe someday we don't need awards for emergency projects, because it would be great if we didn't have any emergencies, but such as it is. And then on October 30th in 2023, a wildfire started in the vegetation above the neighborhood near Lizzie Street, which threatened hundreds of structures. Our firefighters quickly responded and contained the fire to 124 acres, which protected homes in the paths of the flames. The good news is that together we can become more prepared and more resilient. We have a robust emergency management plan and have been training staff across our organization to know how to respond quickly to these types of events in the future. Of course, responding quickly to disasters is vital. We're first and foremost trying to prevent them. Therefore, we're also building local and regional capacity to adapt and be more resilient to climate change impacts. And so here to speak a little bit more about our climate change efforts and other important items is Greg back in front of you. Thank you.
Hello again. Happy to be here to speak a little bit more about some of the programs that we have in the city of San Luis Obispo. So as Whitney mentioned, we've done a lot to both reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and increase our community's resiliency. If you're not aware, San Luis Obispo has some pretty ambitious goals in this area, and we're making important progress in those. In 2023, the city was identified as an A-list city for our efforts to reach carbon neutrality as a community by 2035, and then we have a goal as an organization to reach carbon neutrality a full 5 years earlier by 2030. That includes a number of different actions which are listed in our climate action plan, but includes planting 10,000 trees in our community by 2035. The good news is that we have planted 3,000 of those 10,000 already through some innovative programs like our Keys for Trees, which is funded through visitors, some fees that visitors pay in our community. And we've also done other things like reducing gas and diesel use in city vehicles by 12 and 27%. We're also working to make sure community members are aware of the action that we're taking and the example that we're trying to set as an organization. Hopefully these images are somewhat familiar to you, and you might have seen those on some trash cans, buses. Anybody been able to see some of the branding that we've been able to do? That's our Sustainable SLO brand that helps to tell the story of what our community's goals are and what we hope to accomplish. Again, those are currently on our electric buses, recycling bins, and open space trailhead kiosks. We'll also be adding it to 4 new public EV charging stations that are actually currently under construction and are set to go live in the fall of 2024. An opportunity that we are continuing to embrace and is always one of the most important priorities for our community is our open space. We've been able to expand and build on our trail program through our ranger team. We've recently completed 2 trail projects in the Irish Hills Natural Preserve Bog Thistle Extension and the King Trail Reroute. We're also working on a number of really important projects to conserve additional open space as a part of the city's Greenbelt. We're actually expected to complete one of those in the next couple of months, which will add open space. It's currently contiguous with our Miosi open space. And we've also completed open space easements, which are permanent protection easements at Froome Ranch that protect rare and endangered plant habitat, wetlands, and a segment of Froome Creek, as well as a Rigetti Hill open space conservation plan. One more piece relative to our open space is that we were recently awarded a grant for over $200,000 that'll fund some important riparian improvements, both at Johnson Ranch Open Space and Bishop Peak Natural Preserve. We know that our city is at our best when everyone can see themselves here, and we've supported local businesses, nonprofits, and the city organization to increase the community's overall sense of belonging, and I'm happy to share with you a few more of the details related to that. We have an adopted DEI strategic plan that was the first one ever for the city that was approved recently. That really sketches out the work for the city over the next 5 years and what we aim to accomplish. We also completed a couple of unique and interesting grant programs. That's both our Human Services Grants Program, which really aims to leverage the capacity in our robust nonprofit environment in the city of San Luis Obispo to build upon their expertise to increase the overall sense of community in San Luis Obispo, and also a first of its kind DEI Business Grant Program. And that provided specialized training and created new opportunities for services, dining, and more that are available to the entire community. For a little bit more on some of our other focus areas, I'm happy to hand it over to our Community Development Director, Timmy Tway.
I'm short. All right. Thank you, Greg. Hi, I'm Timmy Tway. I'm the Director of Community Development here at the city. And like most cities across our state and nation, we are feeling the effects here in San Luis Obispo of the housing crisis and chronic homelessness. The good news is that the city is taking both of these things very seriously, and the need for housing in our community, as well as to prevent and reduce homelessness. And we've been turning the plans we have into action over the last year. We've been very busy this last year on a number of ongoing efforts and specific projects related to homelessness. For example, in collaboration with the county, the city has worked on the Welcome Home Village project, which would provide 80 interim and permanent supportive housing units in the city. We've helped fund the expansion of the safe parking program at 40 Prado from 7 to 12 parking spaces. And in collaboration with People's Self-Help Housing, we were able to secure an almost $20 million loan of state funding to facilitate the purchase of a Motel 6 in town and convert it into more than 70 supportive housing units. This year also marks the 3rd year since the activation of the city's mobile crisis unit, which provides a variety of on-call services. We've touched briefly on it already in this presentation. This program is extremely successful, and the city continues to look for partnerships to try to expand the program based on the needs in the community. In 2023, the MCU made more than 3,200 contacts with unhoused individuals in the city. Staff has continued to update and streamline the encampment cleanups as well, including revising the protocols for internal and external requests for cleanup of encampments through the Ask SLO portal and in alignment with the city's compassionate assistance, mitigation, and prevention standards, which are the CAMP standards. On the outreach front, the homelessness response staff continues to outreach to unhoused community members and has distributed over 1,000 pocket guides in English and Spanish in this fall, which provides direct outreach to downtown businesses as well with community service officers. And we've responded to 10 media requests and 27 community partner and business group invitations to speak on what we are doing for the unhoused community. In addition, the conversations are continuing. A homelessness response community forum is planned for next week, June 5th, 2024. You can come talk to me for more details about that if you're interested in attending. On the housing side, we've been actively facilitating a variety of policies and projects that are in the pipeline that will expand the city's housing supply. In fact, the city was recognized this last year by the state of California as one of 47 pro-housing cities. We have now the pro-housing designation, which will give the city exclusive access to resources to speed up the development of housing for people at all incomes in the community. We talk a lot about the housing continuum. Has anyone in this room heard us talk about housing as a continuum? So when we talk about that, we're really talking about the need in the local community for a variety of housing types. So we need more than just new single-family homes. We need shelters. We need supportive and transitional housing. We need market rate rental housing and for sale housing. And we need deed restricted, what we call below market rate housing. And so we've been working really hard this last year, especially to address the need of the housing continuum in the community. And on March 5th, we held a very productive study session with the City Council to discuss future ideas to increase housing at various levels of this continuum. And we also ensure that the ongoing developments you see in the community are in line with our long-range plans, goals, and policies. Some of the developments that you may know about and that I have pictured on the screen are Avila Ranch, San Luis Ranch, Froome Ranch, Rigetti Ranch, Bullock Ranch, the Anderson Apartments downtown, and many other projects, including more than 64 accessory dwelling units that were permitted this fiscal year. We are also initiating specific plan updates for some of the larger plan areas in town, the Margarita area and the airport area, to look at accommodating additional types of housing in those areas. And the city's below market rate, so deed restricted affordable portfolio, continues to grow with construction started on the Maxine Lewis and Bridge Street apartment projects and the opening of Bridge Street Place. And right now there are more than 500 below market rate housing units in the pipeline, which is really, really impressive and very needed in the community. And with that, thank you for your time today. And I'd like to pass the microphone back to Mayor Stewart to bring us through for the rest of the state of the city.
Well, thank you, Timmy. And as you've heard, we've made a lot of progress and we have a lot more to go. So what's next? We have, oh, it's a different one than I thought. Okay. We've made monumental progress on so many projects and we have more to come. We are looking at our parks. We continue to be a little underparked, and so we are looking forward to the Chang Park being revitalized. We are looking forward to the North Broad Street neighborhood park being finished, and looking forward to moving forward with the next phase of the Rigetti Ranch neighborhood. And then also as we look at our Mission Plaza, that's kind of our jewel of downtown. Not only do we enjoy concerts and festivals, but we also have used it for a long time, and we want to make sure that we can utilize those restrooms in a safe and fresh way. So we're looking at that, as well as some potential eating opportunities separate from that, like a kiosk of a cafe or something of that sort. And so that will be all coming up in this next year. We're really excited about that. And again, we can't stop talking about flood control because, of course, rains will come again in a year. And so we look at the Mid-Higuera bypass. That's the existing bridge that creates that flood between Marsh Street and Madonna. So really looking forward to seeing that being finished in this next year. We also have the Cultural Arts District parking structure that broke ground in 2023. So that will continue. And not only will that continue being creating a parking structure, but it will also be plans for the Slow Repertory Theater and for some additional affordable housing. So we're really excited to see that happen. I know some of you have heard about Prado Bridge and Prado 101 overpass for a long time. And so we really are excited to see the Prado Bridge replacement project get moving further along and actually start under construction in 2025. So that's really exciting. The Prado Interchange project is probably the next financial plan, but that's okay. Lastly, nope, that one. Sorry, somehow I mixed up my notes. I apologize, Natalie. All right, so she's worked very hard on this, and Natalie Harnett is amazing, and so I just want to, since I took it out of order, I just want to make sure. So, when I love to look at this picture right here with the electric bus, I remember when we kicked off the first electric bus, now we have 2 on the road, and we have 6 more to come. We just continue to look at how do we, again, be cleaner, greener, more sustainable. I'm really excited again about our public safety, our fire, and our community policing, really working smoothly. We're looking forward to expanding renter education and safe housing. And we're really excited. Something that's kind of a bit newer is prioritizing broadband access. When we went through COVID and saw that not everyone had access to telecommuting or teleeducation, wanted to make sure every community member here could have that access. And of course, more childcare, really exciting. We are looking at partnerships, of course, with Parks and Rec, Cal Poly, and the local schools. So looking forward to more to come. We're continuing to invest in our historic resources, our city-owned Adobes included. We'll continue to invest in our downtown because, of course, the downtown is the heart of San Luis Obispo. There have been so many great new neighborhoods popping up, as you heard of all the ranches that Timmy mentioned earlier, and that comes with really fun restaurants and other activities. But now, we have to continue to, of course, bring people downtown, and of course, our arts and culture, the grants and partnerships, we will continue, and we're really excited about that because part of seeing this diverse community is being able to enjoy it all together and to bring new things and new people here that you just don't know of yet. So lastly, we have the really wonderful celebration. Every couple of years, we were able to bring back doing the Community Academy. And this year, we had about 30 people complete the 6-week project or 6-week program. And they got to interact with the staff and interact with each other and ask very real questions and understand the inner workings of the city, how it works, why it works the way it does, and be able to bring that back to their different friends and family members and coworkers and whoever it was that was saying, we need to change these things. And some things we do. And also some things is just pure education and understanding more how we do things and what we do and why. So that's a little bit about what we have coming up. Lastly, a really huge thank you to you, to everyone watching, to everyone not watching. We cannot make this city work without each and every person that's here. We have the Engage Slow showing. This has been a great addition to connecting our volunteers to being part of the city. We have over 2,000 hours logged, and Engage Slow has only been up for 6 months. Really love that we have this volunteer coordinator that's been corralling the cats, corralling all of us, being able to say, I want to volunteer, I want to paint this, I want to do some landscaping over there, I want to plant a tree. And getting all of that coordinated is a lot of work, and I really, really love that everyone's coming together. I can't, of course, do anything that we're doing without our regional and community partners as well. We've been able to accomplish so much more and make this a stronger community because we work together. Our business community has continued to make this community vibrant. We have, again, like we talked about, downtown, and we also have great things popping up all throughout our entire community. So I thank the businesses, and we're here to make you stronger and more successful. And then lastly, of course, staff, all of the employees of this community. I know I already mentioned them, but we have to say thank you because this is a lot of work, not just putting on tonight, but putting on everything we do throughout the entire year. So for everyone who lives, plays, and works our community, thank you. Thank you for coming and listening. And I want to go ahead and open it up for questions and bring back Interim Assistant City Manager Greg Herman.
Great, thank you so much, Mayor. So we have some time, and one of the great elements of an event like this is that it allows us to be able to engage in some conversations with all of you. So we'll spend a little bit of time doing some formal questions, and then we'll break and just allow you an opportunity to be able to meet some of the different department heads that are here, ask questions that you may have of any of us, and also enjoy some of the refreshments that we have. So if folks have a question, Natalie is going to be our designated microphone person. And if you have a brief question, we're happy to answer those. We'll bring up the department head that's going to be best able to respond. Any questions to start us off from anyone? Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Gail Reif, and your presentation, everybody, staff, mayor, it was very good. But I was kind of curious, and maybe you can answer this or somebody else, but what do you think is the biggest challenge, or what do you think will be something that can hurt the city in the future that we should focus on as a community? Like, what scares you at night, if anything?
Okay. Gail.
I'm just curious.
Starting off with the easy ones. Okay. Sure. I might invite our Mayor, would you like to, do you have any thoughts? I'll tell you what, hold tight. We'll start with our interim city manager. Thank you.
Like, how much time do you have tonight? Excellent question, and I really appreciate the kind of openness to the idea that honestly, there are lots of things that I think keep a lot of us up at night, and really for the love and care we have for our community and also our staff and people who are out working every day and helping to keep people safe who aren't maybe safe themselves, So those, way heavy on the heart is trying to make sure our people are safe. But in addition, kind of bigger picture questions, financial sustainability is always a huge piece of what we look at. Not only what we're weathering as a state, as a nation, but also so a lot of that is what we can't really control, but we can control our spending, and it can really require a lot of difficult choices. Not can, it does. It does almost every day. And so really looking ahead at some of the things we see coming, there is a potential tax measure on the ballot in November of this year that has the possibility of significantly restricting our ability to raise funding in order to provide these services. Those are the types of things that are border on the kind of existential threat to our ability to continue providing for all of you and all of the people who come and both work and play here every day. The housing and homelessness crisis is also a significant concern for, I think, everyone. And it's not only heartbreaking, but it's a problem that feels kind of Sisyphean in terms of and it causes burnout, for our staff. And in addition to, there are really big issues that are causing this on a very local level. One of the beauties and the burdens of working at a local government level is that we feel all of the effects of things that happen on a global and then national level at the local level. But we don't have all the tools at our disposal to actually solve them. We try, we definitely try. And the kind of common saying is that we can do anything, we just can't do everything. And so having to pick and choose what we're trying to tackle and prioritize is hard, because I think honestly, we all really would love to solve everything and do all of the projects and make everything as kind of perfect and gleaming as possible, but we're just, all trying to do our best as we go along. So yeah, certainly funding, housing, homelessness, those are I think the super major issues, as well as just safety and keeping our people and our community safe every day. And of course, wanting people to feel comfortable, like they belong and are welcome here. All of that is built toward that goal. Yeah, so I don't know if Mayor has anything else.
I guess I'll pick up that stone now. I agree a lot of what city manager said, and I think that as we talk about housing and homelessness and funding and all of these issues, I don't mean it to sound trite, but I worry often about how do we come together, because this is a time in the nation, in the state, in the city, where people are really kind of pulling against each other, which sounds weird to say pulling against each other, but because there's a lot of pulling and pushing. And we have to solve these issues together. I'm so thankful for the community and the regional partners we have. I'm so thankful for the community members we have that are wanting to work together. And I also look at, to be able to dig through bureaucracy, new bills, property owners and rights, and putting all of these things together to create really interesting, unique ideas and suggestions and pilots for housing and unhoused. we have to be willing to work together to do that. To make people feel welcome and know that they belong here, we have to work together to do that. There was a time when I first moved here, we had 16,000 going to Cal Poly. We have 22,000 now at Cal Poly. And I think we were about 25 to 28,000 people in the community. Now you feel like I can't go into the grocery store without running into someone I know, but then it was even more. And so and I don't want to mean block party like some big rager, but we had a lot of community get together, potluck, connection. And so people came together of all different ages and identities, and it was really wonderful. And so I hope that we do come a little closer back together and try to solve these huge issues together as CalPERS continues the retirement funding to have challenges with their investments. We put money ahead of time, as you heard from Whitney McDonald, but there's still that concern of what will happen next with the stock market, what will happen next with investing. And so we all have to kind of worry about that a little bit, and then we also have to think about how do we just continue to plan for the future and move forward.
Thank you. And I think those are both excellent segues and plugs for next Tuesday, which is going to be a budget adoption that we have for the next fiscal year, which is our best attempt to reconcile all of those different elements in a one-year period. There was one question over here.
So I was going to ask the exact same question. So great minds think alike, or maybe fools never differ. I don't know. But continuing in that frame and focusing on climate, you mentioned floods, and obviously that's been kind of the most visible risk. Are there other things that you worry about? You mentioned water is in pretty good shape, but I wonder if you would tell us just a little bit about measures that the city or others have been taking to retain the resilience of the water supply, for instance, just to continue on the worst case scenario theme.
Yeah, no problem. And I'd like to invite up our Deputy Director of Utilities, Michael Borman, who can talk to you a little bit about our water program and some of the resources that we have in place.
Thank you, Greg. Michael Borman with the Utilities Department. I can chat a little bit about our water supplies. So one of the things that's always interesting for community members to hear is that we're actually using less water right now than we were back in the 1980s. And so our water use right now is at about 5,000 acre feet a year. We were just looking at the other day at projections from back in the 1980s and 90s that were showing that the estimate for the city at this point in time was about 14,000 acre feet. So we're using about a third of what was projected to be used back then. And so the community's done a great job at conserving water, and then concurrently we've been building up our water supplies. So originally we had water from the creek in San Luis, groundwater, and then in 1943 or so, we brought online the reservoir, locally known as Santa Margarita Lake. We internally refer to it as Salinas. In the 1960s, Whale Rock, and then back in about 2010, we brought online Nacimiento. And Nacimiento is an annual entitlement to more water, about 5,500 acre feet a year, than the city uses in an entire year. And then, as was mentioned in the presentation earlier, we're working on a groundwater cleanup project right now that will add about 600 acre feet of additional water, so about 15% of the city's annual use to our water supply. And then, as was mentioned about the wharf upgrade, that project is also positioning the city where in the future we'll have the ability to further treat recycled water to either inject it back into the groundwater basin or percolate it into the groundwater basin to supplement that supply. So I think we've got a perfect balance of the community is doing its part to really be wise with their water use. I think the state has done a really good job with forcing what I would call conservation measures that really are not noticed by most people. Like your toilet, when you flush it, right now uses between 1 gallon and 1.6 gallons of water. Used to use 7 gallons of water. And for most people, they don't notice the difference when they flush their toilets. So I think the state's doing their part, the city community members are doing their part, and then behind the scenes with the support of council, for generations, we've been able to acquire new water supplies. And the mayor mentioned, I think, a really cool award that our city got recently. We got a Platinum Award for our conservation program, which I believe makes us one of 4 in the United States that's received that award. So really good program that we have that's been decades in the making. So thanks.
Thank you, Michael. And just an invitation also to the information on the slide. There's a lot of great information on the city's website, including what our current reservoir levels are at socity.org. And then also an opportunity, if you all aren't signed up, to receive news and e-notifications for us. We push out a lot of information, including some of what Michael shared on a regular basis for folks. And it's a great way to just stay in the loop on everything that's going on in the city. Other questions from folks? Okay. Well, what I'd like to do really quickly is just point out the department head team that's in the room. We're happy to stick around for a while. We're excited to meet all of you, and I would just encourage you to seek out any of us that you're interested in having additional conversations with. We, of course, have Whitney McDonald, our interim city manager. Matt Horn is right here, our public works director. We've got Timmy Tway, again, our community development director. Michael is here from our utilities department. Greg Vakian is our parks and recreation director. Emily Jackson is our finance director. We have our fire chief, Todd Tuggle, here. And we have our police chief, Rick Scott here, our city attorney, Christine Dietrich, and our human resources director, Nicole Dominy. In addition, again, our elected officials, Vice Mayor Andy Pease and Mayor Erica A. Stewart. So please, we're excited to continue the conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time this evening and for your interest and engagement with the city of San Luis Obispo. Thank you.